Coming up on today's Airborne, Unlimited Warbirds with changes will soar at Reno. The A350 XWB makes its first flight, and Waco's new Great Lakes biplane takes wing. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. The inability to reach agreement over a number of unsettled restrictions involving the Reno Air Racing Association and the FAA forced the Unlimited Racing Division of the National Air Racing Group to call for a safety stand-down from this year's Reno Air Races. Yet within hours of that announcement, the Reno Air Racing Association unveiled the Unlimited Warbird Racing Class, a new high-profile racing class organization at the 50th Annual National Championship Air Races this September. In less than 12 hours since the announcement of the new class, the UWRC has secured many of the same pilots who usually compete in the races as part of Unlimited Racing, including crowd favorites and former champions such as Kurt Brown flying Sawbones, Tom Richard flying Precious Metal, Sherman Smoot flying Checkmate, fan favorite Voodoo, and John Bagley flying Bob Hoover's legendary aircraft Old Yeller. Additionally, RARA announced that air race legend and 7-time Unlimited champion Bill Tiger DeStefani will serve as the president of the new race class. Any pilot who is currently qualified to race in Unlimited Racing will be welcome to participate in the UWRC. It's been a long time coming, but Airbus flew its first A350 XWB for the first time on Friday. Tom Patton has details.
Ashley, Airbus's entry into the fuel-efficient composite construction market took off at 10 a.m. local time in France on Friday and flew for 4 hours and 5 minutes. An international flight test crew of 6 was on board for the inaugural flight. The A350 XWB's weight at takeoff was reported to be 243 tons. The flight was conducted over southwestern France, and the crew completed tests that will be used to determine the airplane's flight envelope. A chase plane filmed the flight for later study, and it was monitored on the ground through real-time telemetry. Airbus plans a flight test schedule of 2,500 hours that will involve 5 airplanes. Entry into service for the A350 XWB is expected in the second half of 2014. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
The brand new Great Lakes made its first flight Sunday, June 9th, under the pilotage of Gabriel Valim and the watchful eye of Waco Boss Peter Bowers. Other than an alternator that was giving the Waco team some problems, the aircraft was reported to have flown exceedingly well, with specific appreciation for its having rigged out well right from the start. Basic performance and handling parameters were also reported to have been met or exceeded in the initial test flight. The aircraft will resume test flying this week and is expected to show up at this year's Oshkosh EAA Fly-In. The Great Lakes 2T1A2 has a list price of $245,520. The open cockpit Great Lakes seats 2 in tandem and cruises at 120 miles per hour, climbs at 1,400 feet per minute, and has a range of 260 nautical miles. Waco Classic boasts that it is the only company in the world that produces new FAA and EASA certified open cockpit classic biplanes. The General Accountability Office on Thursday denied Beechcraft Corporation's protest of the U.S. Air Force contract award to Sierra Nevada Corporation and partner Embraer Defense and Security for the Air Force's Light Air Support Program. Under the contract awarded February 27, 2013, Sierra Nevada is supplying 20 Embraer A29 Super Tucano aircraft that will be built in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as ground-based training equipment, pilot and maintenance training, and logistical support. Delivery of the initial aircraft is scheduled to occur in mid-2014, which allows time for the necessary training before the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Taco Gilbert, Vice President of Integrated Tactical Solution for Sierra Nevada Corporation's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance business area, said in a news release, quote, "Today's decision is a win for the American warfighters and our allies. It is also a victory for the American workers who are producing this aircraft," end quote. More than 100 U.S. companies in over 20 states are part of the supply chain already working to build the A-29 Super Tucano. SNC says that in all, the contract supports more than 1,400 jobs across the U.S. In a statement, Beechcraft Corporation said that the decision was, quote, "distressing," and added, quote, "It is now time for Congress to step in and put an end to this flawed acquisition process," end quote. The city of Davenport, Iowa, has raised the rent it charges to the organizers of the Quad City Air Show from $8,000 to $25,000, but says the city pays the entire tab through its hotel-motel tax. The issue has been simmering for more than a year, according to a report from television station KWQC. Wednesday night, the city alderman voted to increase the rent by 212%, because the cost to put on the air show have dramatically increased. When the rent was originally established 22 years ago, city leaders say it was probably a fair estimate for the cost of having the air show. But some aldermen say there has been overspending, and others said that the $44,000 salary for Ken Hopper, the president of the Quad City Air Show organization, which puts on the event, was an item of concern. Alderman Bill Edmond told the station that the Quad City Air Show organization does not pay its own rent in any case. Quote, "The city of Davenport picks up the entire tab. We pay for it out of our hotel-motel tax," end quote. Ticket prices for the air show are not expected to increase. The airport where the show is staged is in an enterprise zone, and city leaders say the rent increase will help it be self-sufficient to meet the requirements of the zone. The show will be held June 22nd through the 23rd. You're watching Airborne. More in a moment.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds and learning proper crosswind landing techniques. Even today, most crosswind landing skills are learned through trial and error, sometimes with disastrous results. Believe it or not, the most common contributing factor in weather-related accidents each year is crosswinds. The second most common factor is wind gusts. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. It teaches pilots the proper techniques to meet and beat these top two causes of weather-related landing accidents. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in challenging crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird X-Wind SE, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, or website or podcast, drop us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. ARSA, the Aeronautical Repair Station Association, says the TSA once again failed to meet its deadline to finalize the repair station security rule, expected by Thursday. TSA's inaction means the FAA still faces a moratorium on certificating foreign aviation repair stations, an issue for the industry since 2008. In 2003, Congress first mandated TSA finalize repair station security rules. After years of inaction, in 2007, lawmakers once again required the agency to complete work on the regulations, prohibiting the FAA from approving new foreign repair stations after August 3, 2008, if TSA didn't comply. During a March 14th oversight hearing before the House Transportation Security Subcommittee, TSA Administrator John Pistole confirmed that the rule was under a mandatory 90-day examination period. The period ended this past Thursday. ARSA Vice President of Government Affairs Daniel B. Fisher said, quote, The aviation maintenance industry is done sitting by and hoping the government will follow Congress's ill-advised directive. This ban is costing U.S. companies millions of dollars in lost revenues, stifling domestic growth and job creation that would support overseas expansion. Congress created this problem, and now it should fix it." End quote. The FAA has released a special airworthiness information bulletin directed to owners, operators, and maintenance personnel of Cessna Model 172Q airplanes. The FAA has found that the propeller mounting bolt torque called out in the Cessna Model 172 Series 1977 through 1986 Service Manual number D206-65-313 is incorrect for the Model 172Q airplanes when equipped with the Macaulay 1A170E JFA 7658 propeller per Type Certificate Data Sheet 3A12. The FAA recommends that until the above Cessna Service Manual is revised, the propeller be installed per the procedures defined in Macaulay Owner-Operator Information Manual number MPC2602. Revision 2, dated March 13, 2013, or later revision. At this time, the airworthiness concern is not an unsafe condition that would warrant an AD, according to the FAA. If your summer vacation or travel plans include a visit to a U.S. Navy Aviation Museum, you might want to call ahead to confirm the days and hours of operation. Why? The Navy said Friday it will close the museum it operates to absorb reductions resulting from the announced federal furlough 1 day a week on Mondays, beginning the week of July 8th until further notice. Among them is the National Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida. The Navy museums plan to otherwise continue their normal business operations on weekends and holidays during the furlough period, except Labor Day because it falls on a Monday. The museum in Pensacola had been a popular site for viewing the Blue Angels as they practiced their routines from their home base of Pensacola Naval Air Station. However, those practices were canceled by the Navy back in April, when the team's show schedule for the year was scrapped. The team has been reduced to flying 11 hours per week to maintain basic proficiency, but those flights are not information. Each week, we present our Aero Video of the Week. These videos are always entertaining, sometimes educational, and most certainly, in today's case, inspirational. Todd Love is a USMC veteran who lost both of his legs and his left hand to an IED in Afghanistan, who's determined to not let that get in the way of anything, as you'll see in this high-flying adventure. Search YouTube for Todd Love Accelerated Free Fall Training to see the entire 5-minute video. The 47th annual Father's Day Fly-In at Columbia Airport, California was canceled, this year only, due to the costs demanded by the FAA to staff a temporary control tower. While that news was disappointing, the airport community did its best to keep the event from being a total loss by instead holding an Airport Appreciation Day that took place over the weekend. The local Boy Scout troop also held their annual pancake breakfast. The aviation community can expect much more of the same, and while many events will be able to punt and do what they need to without the assistance of the FAA, those events that need waivers, special permissions, or mandatory surveillance are pretty much up a creek if they can't afford what the FAA demands. Exacerbating the situation, the FAA is demonstrating an overt unwillingness to discuss how they calculate the needs and costs for the fees that they demand. As always, ANN will present whatever information becomes available. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories at aero-news.net. and please join us again this Friday for another edition of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.